What is up, everybody? Welcome to this week's episode of the United Pixels podcast. I'm your host, Brad, joined by my co-hosts, Micah.
Hey.
And Carrie.
What's up?
We decided to press on tonight. Terrence isn't here because Terrence wasn't feeling it, and I don't blame him. I almost wasn't feeling it tonight. But, like I said, if we can provide an hour or so of I don't want to use distraction's not the right word, just relief, something, a chance to escape.
Mild entertainment.
A little bit. That's what we're here to do. So we're gonna make the best of it. But I would implore you to listen to other content this week in the network. Definitely listen to Look Forward this week. If you're not a premium member, I almost thought about asking Jay to make this week's episode available in its entirety for free because I feel gross.
You should. I mean, you should
asking for money.
You should. He'll probably do it.
Yeah. We might, I don't know. I might ask him. We might do that. But if not, premium's still a good value. You should still check it out. It just feels weird asking people for money to hear our thoughts on everything going on this weekend. Feels kind of gross. But definitely listen to Black on Black Cinema this week. I have not heard it, but it's already been recorded. And I'm sure it'll be very good given the history of that show around events like the protests that are going on in the country right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would, like I said, I would just implore you to not to just pay attention and care and do what you can to make things better for folks, whether that's elevating the voices of people who don't have as big of a voice, just listening, being a good ally. All these things are things that you can do, and especially if you're white, you really need to get off the fucking sidelines.
Mm-hmm. And there are ways to get off the sidelines without physically going out. Obviously the pandemic is still going on, and it may not be the safest thing for some folks who may have underlying conditions or who live with folks who are more vulnerable to actually physically go out and be a part of a protest. But like there are so many other ways that you can contribute. Whether it's just by elevating the voices of others or donating to one of the dozens and dozens of worthwhile causes. I've just basically been trying to donate my own spare cash right now to the people who need it more than me, because I can't really go out and protest right now. But yeah, at this point, if you aren't doing anything, you are being part of the problem. So
cool. Did you want to jump in, Micah, before we?
I don't know if you want me to say anything because we're not gonna have dense pixels. We just won't if I start talking. So let's just press on. I implore you. Listen to Black on Black Cinema this week. It's just share it out, and that's not just a cheap plug for us. It's 30 to 40 something Black men in America and their opinion on what's going on, and it's let's just keep going. Let's just do this show.
So, Gary, Xenoblade Chronicles came out for the Switch. Didn't you play this shit on the Wii U when it first released?
Nope. First of all, this wasn't a Wii U game. This
was a Wii game. That's right.
A very late Wii game. Yeah. So Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition came out on Switch this past week. I finally picked it up. Xenoblade was a game where it came out on Wii and I was like, that looks like a game I would enjoy. And then I didn't pick it up. And then it came out on the new Nintendo 3DS and I was like, I won't play that game because I heard it was really good. And didn't get it then either. So they finally put it out on Switch and I was like, okay, I'm playing it this time. It's good so far. I'm still very early in the game. I've only played about 5 hours so far. I'm still kind of getting used to the battle system. It almost feels like an MMO style battle system, in so much that like you will activate a battle and then you and your party will like automatically attack, and you can do different sort of like special attacks and whatnot. But yeah, the game looks great on Wii, plays really smooth. I'm not sure what I expected these characters to sound like. I wasn't expecting everyone to be sort of like vaguely British, but everyone is vaguely British. But yeah, like Shulk is a compelling main character. It's a cool story. Yeah, I'm enjoying it so far. The music's incredible. It was something where I was like, wow, I'm like really enjoying this music. You know, I got to the Gower Plain and I was like, hell yeah, this song is so good. And then I was like, who worked on this soundtrack? And I was like, fucking of course it was Yoko Shimomura, who is known for many, many things, including like Street Fighter 2 and the entire Kingdom Hearts series and a bunch of other RPGs. So I was like, wow, no shit. Like, why couldn't I have figured this out ahead of time? But Xenoblade came out at a really good time too, because last week I finished up Persona 5 Royal. And Persona 5 Royal was spectacular. All of the new content was really good. I finished Persona 5 Royal start to finish in about 80 hours, which some people might think is really fucking fast, because a lot of people didn't even finish vanilla P5 in less than 100 hours, but I read very quickly, and that I think contributes to a lot of that. But yeah, the third semester content was great. The new final boss was really interesting, because it's like he's not like he's someone who you interact with over the course of the main story as well, and like his motivations are really interesting, and his methods are terrible, but it's like it's one of those things where it's like I can see where you're coming from, and I can see what point you're trying to make. You're just like, you're making it very badly. All the new music for the game is really good. If you didn't play Persona 5 and you're like confused as to which version to get, I would recommend you just get the Royal. But I had some folks ask me last week, because I guess the original release of Persona 5 was on sale for like $8 or something. Mm-hmm. So it's like, if you're sort of waffling on Persona and you're not really sure, like, if you want to drop $60 on it, absolutely get the original release of Persona 5. Because I mean, when that version came out, everyone was like, this is maybe one of the best RPGs ever made. And they somehow made that even better with the Royal. So yeah, Persona is good. You should definitely play Persona. It's the various improvements and additions that the Royal made. It made the game feel still very fresh and very new, even though I had played through the first game almost twice all the way through, because I New Game Plused it. So
damn.
Yeah.
So PlayStation Plus formally announced their free games. We talked about Call of Duty World War II, which actually dropped for free on the service last week. But now you can get that and Star Wars Battlefront 2 for the entire month of June. Battlefront 2 might be a pretty good pickup, considering all the stuff they added to that game for free over time. So maybe if you didn't check it out when it first came out, because it was a fucking shit show when it first released, it might be a good time to get now, because you can get a whole lot of game for free 99, basically. There's a few other games coming out this week, nothing huge. Liberated comes out on the Switch. Little Town Here comes out on PS4. We talked last week about Valorant officially releasing on PC. Awesome P2 comes to PS4, Xbox One, and Switch. Pro Cycling Manager 2020 comes to PS4, Xbox One, and PC. Now look, not to borrow a phrase from Micah.
Come on, man.
I get that Football Manager is a widely popular game worldwide, much more so in Europe than in the US, obviously, and in Asian countries and stuff like that. But there's a reason that Football Manager is very popular because soccer has a lot of levers to pull and a lot of things to manage. Like, I'd imagine if they made a baseball equivalent of Football Manager, that would probably be pretty popular over here in the US. Or if they made a Football Manager in the US, that could be popular. I don't know who Pro Cycling Manager 2020 is for.
I thought he was gonna come back, but
Hey, I'm back now. So.
All right.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. My internet connection is unstable. This happens when
We're waiting with bated breath.
Like, if this happened to baseball.
What I said when I disappeared from your guys' thing is that if they came out like a Baseball Manager version, they would be popular over here, or a Football Manager in the US.
An NFL Manager.
Right, NFL Manager.
Yeah.
Who is this game for? Who is Pro Cycling Manager 2024?
I don't know. I only put it on this list because like I thought it sounded completely absurd.
Well, that does meet the qualifications.
Here's the thing.
Release list then. So
it launched in 2001.
Yeah, well, yeah, that was my next question. Why is it 2020? Like, have they been making this game for years and nobody cared?
Yes.
Man. And to go to the next game on the list, Tour de France 2020 comes out on the PS4 and Xbox One. Wouldn't you just want to do the cycling?
I guess.
Like I said, I wanna pick who the sponsor's gonna be. What?
Like I said, race your legs and
riveting
steroids. Do the thing. Do the thing for Tour de France 2020. And then the Outer Worlds finally comes to the Nintendo Switch.
I liked Outer Worlds a lot on PC. So if you have a Switch and you didn't play it last year, yeah, consider that a pickup. That game's a lot of fun.
I concur. Although I haven't finished the game, I should probably go back and finish it.
You probably should.
I will do that, or I can just go to YouTube and look at the story from there. And while I'm on the internet, YouTube specifically, I can go to youtube.com/densepixels and subscribe. When you go to youtube.com/densepixels and subscribe, you get to see our lovely faces. You get to see Brad in his pink shirt with Funko Pops in the background. You get to see Carrie and the blue glasses, the powder blue glasses, not just regular blue, powder blue. And I said regular like a Baltimorean. And you get to see my very, very washed out face because much like a white director of photography, I don't know how to shoot black skin. So go to youtube.com/densepixels and subscribe and hit that bell notification icon to get all that whatever. You can subscribe to all of the TMP Studios podcasts wherever you get your podcasts, including the Nerdpocalypse, the flagship show, the one that started it all, Black on Black Cinema. As you were saying earlier, we recorded an episode of Black on Black Cinema. It was supposed to be about a movie called John Henry, starring Terry Crews. What's that? Terry Crews and Ludacris. It was a movie that is so bad that we decided, you know what? We're not going to do it. Like, there are way too many more important things to talk about right now.
And that's shocking because both Terry Crews and Ludacris seem like they'd be above such a film.
You would think so, but apparently not.
Oh, this movie came out this year.
Yeah. Yeah, and I heard it was really bad. So I was like, "Oh, we should rip into a bad movie."
Oh, it has a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, I didn't know that when I suggested it. Oh. That means literally nobody liked it. That went to that aggregator. But we talk about all the stuff that's going on right now, and it's I won't even say it's cathartic because like nothing's changed. You know what? You can listen to Coming Distractions, our contemporary movie review show. That will be back whenever 2020 stops acting like a fucking bitch, like for real.
Whenever movies come back.
And you can get the weekly preview episode of Look Forward, which is about an hour. But if you go to densepixels.com/premium and give us donate $5 a month or $50 a year, you will get access to the premium slate of shows, including the airing of grievances, our Seinfeld podcast, No Time to Bleed. A new No Time to Bleed is in the can for June, and it will be released sometime in June. It's a legendary movie that everyone in the world has seen except for me. The Men with the Golden Tongues will be back very soon. I've been very busy with my schedule, but it's coming back soon.
Honestly, like we haven't thought about it because we've both been busy as fuck. So.
Yeah. So, but it will come back this month. Don't you worry. Upstage Conversation, Carrie's musical movie review show. Do you have a new film that you've chosen?
We actually just Brad and I just recorded the latest episode the other day, so that should be hitting the feed pretty soon. We discussed Bye Bye Birdie, so much older than the other films that we had discussed on the show so far.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And you get the full, unfiltered, uncut episode of Look Forward. Now, look. You get the first hour for free, right? Like they kind of tease you, but you're gonna want to listen to that second hour. And this past episode was very, very good. Jay and Andy had on Brad, and the three of them just kind of talked about all of the happenings before all of the new happenings, because 2020 is just throwing so much nonsense at us that is very difficult to keep up. But if you want to hear what Brad has to say about a certain situation that white people have it harder than black people about, you're gonna have to listen.
In the Trump era specifically.
Yeah. Brad said, you know what? White people have it much harder than black people regarding blank. I mean, if that's not a tease, I don't know what is. But you're gonna have to listen to the full episode. But yeah, thank you for listening and subscribing, and you know, we hope to kind of, like you said earlier, give a little bit of levity in all of this, in all of these crazy times right now.
Because look, we're all exhausted.
Yeah, you can see it on my face. I'm done.
So this first news story is not my ballywick.
Nope.
Ballywick is
it is mine.
Saying, fire away.
Yeah. So first up in our news this week, announced this morning, the Pokemon Sword and Shield DLC pack, the Isle of Armor, will be arriving in just a couple short weeks on June 17th. So this is bringing a wealth of new monsters, some brand new monsters, as well as some new variants on older ones. We got our first look at Galarian Slowbro in this trailer. So yeah, I mean, we got a new trailer highlighting that, and then we got a little more information on the second DLC pack called the Crown Tundra that will be arriving sometime in the fall. But yeah, a Pokemon DLC that some people are just so fucking upset about. How dare they release DLC?
Why are people mad?
Because Pokemon fans are the most entitled shitheads on earth.
Oh.
I'm also, so here's another thing I'm concerned about. Do Pokemon fans realize that it's probably not going to be an every other year for a new generation cycle here.
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of what this is like, this is the content that they would have otherwise just saved for like the enhanced release or the third game in the series. Like, this is the content that you would have, expected to see in, Pokemon Gun or whatever the third version was going to be.
Pokemon Polearm coming.
Yeah, Pokemon Lance. Yeah, so I feel like it's almost not even worth mentioning, but if you are somehow unfamiliar with how the Pokemon release schedule has been since ever, they release a game and then a year and a half later they release like another version of that game that has additional content that wasn't in the first release. So rather than
charge full price for
and
that.
they've charged full price for that, yes. So now rather than doing that, Sword and Shield are existing in the 21st century and have just decided to go with two big hefty DLC packs that both add like new wild areas, new characters, and new rivals, and new challenges, and new Pokemon, and like all of the extra stuff, like the extra post-game content that you would have expected to find in like Black and White 2 or Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, that sort of shit. So I'm not really entirely sure why people complained about this. There was a lot of, oh, well, this should have been the base game, and I'm just like, shut the fuck up.
And again,
all right, well then you wouldn't have gotten the base game until when the second
until now,
DLC, right? What the fuck? All right.
And like Micah said, like this is coming from people who have happily bought the same game twice essentially, and then bought it again a year later.
Yeah,
every time without fail, with a smile on their face.
So, look, I enjoyed the heck out of Sword and Shield. I like a lot of those characters. I'm excited to spend some more time with those characters and the DLC packs. I haven't played a lot of Sword and Shield since sort of like finishing the main game because I'm not a competitive Pokemon person. I love the hell out of Pokemon. I have 3 Pokemon tattoos, but like I'm not about to grind up a competitive team or anything like that. That's not something I've really ever enjoyed. But yeah, I mean, hey, new big story DLC. Sign me the fuck up.
So Street Fighter, Capcom, they've announced that Street Fighter V is going to get one last season of content, a 5th season of Street Fighter content.
A V season.
A V season of Street Fighter content. And there's going to be V more characters added to the roster.
Shut the fuck up.
I'm not kidding. This is in the release.
No. Oh, it is in the press release. I hate that.
They're also putting out 3 more stages, which look, if you're going to go with the bit, see it through to the end.
Yeah, thank you.
You need V more stages at that point.
So that's all. I guess
3 rhymes with V, but
no, it's that unacceptable.
Well, then if you're gonna like be consistent and just continue with the Roman numerals, like what is it? Are you gonna do Roman numerals for your numbers in this sentence, or are you going to be consistent with the 5 and the V thing?
Look, I don't know why anyone expects any sort of consistency out of Capcom.
Do you so there's a rumor as to what the 5 characters are. Would you like to know the 5 characters?
Sure.
That are rumored. This is not fact. Look at all these rumors. Rumor. Okay. Elena from Street Fighter 3 and 4. Rose originally from what, Alpha?
That one makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Crimson Viper.
You know what? Honestly, that's the biggest layup of them all. There's no way that
right. Right. Oro from Street Fighter 3. He's never been in any other game other than Street Fighter 3. So,
there's a reason for
that. And Rolento.
Rolento was an Ultra 4. I could see that.
But I mean, you want a record character. I would much rather have everyone's favorite Bruce Lee clone than Rolento again. I don't know. I just don't have the affinity for Rolento, another Final Fight character, than that I do for, you know.
How many brand new characters do you think there's going to be?
I don't think there will be any brand new characters.
Okay.
I can see
I
maybe
really
one.
don't. You think one?
They've added quite a few in over the course of Street Fighter V. So
Yeah, they have, and I can't imagine that. They would introduce a new character so late into that game's
I
life
mean,
cycle.
you're probably right.
me saying that was actually more of an endorsement of your point, Mike, and the fact they have already released a ton of new characters. So
Yeah, so it's if it is this lineup, I'm fine with it. People are real mad because Makoto is not in that rumored list, even though Makoto is the highest ranked character in the popularity poll.
mm-hmm.
But I
Is
don't know.
Makoto somehow not in Street Fighter V?
She's not.
Oh, that's remarkable. I guess I would have assumed that she would have been in there.
She's super popular, but you know, I'm hearing things from professional fighting game, you know, followers, and they're like, well, it makes sense to not have such an incredibly popular character be introduced in the last expansion of the last Street Fighter of this generation of video game consoles. It would be more prudent to have such a fan favorite character come right out of the gate in a possible Street Fighter 6. And
I can see that point.
that
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense to me.
On the other hand, like, why not have her be like the fucking grand finale for 5?
Yeah, well, I mean, I can see that. You know, it's
just the exclamation point at the end of this game's life cycle.
Yeah, maybe that's what Crimson Viper is for people. I don't know. Crimson Viper is a very popular character, but not as popular as like Makoto. Like I know a ton of people would rather see Makoto than Elena.
Yeah.
Or Oro for that matter. Oro. But yeah. Those are the rumors. Look, I don't know. I haven't played Street Fighter in a while. I have played it, you know, since they introduced the second V skills, and they really like that game has really come a long way from what it was to what it is now. And I'm not going to do the whole, you know, oh, they should have did all this in the first place. Like, nah, man. Like, we're here now, right? Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's actually a really, really good game with, you know, terrible netcode, but yeah, Street Fighter is getting one last update. Wow.
Yeah, it's hard to believe the game's been out for over 4 years at this point.
Yeah, man.
Very cool. Also pretty cool. So some video game preservationists have found and then find it. They were given it. An unreleased game across like floppy disk, Days of Thunder, based on the movie of the same name, starring one Jonathan Cruz back when he was a young man, yet still looked the same as he does now. So this game was developed, but it never came out on the NES. And when the person who developed it passed away, the Video Game History Foundation acquired a bunch of the materials that he had between different floppy disks on old PCs, that kind of stuff. His family donated it to them. And one of the floppy disks was labeled Nintendo Hot Rad Taxi Final. And apparently within the materials that they were given, Days of Thunder was somewhere in there. And they had to literally split it out.
Across the series, split and encrypted within a series of 40 different floppy disks.
Yeah.
Which is nuts.
And then they had to digitize the data, and then they had to work to assemble the game together once they had everything partitioned out. Now they're gonna publish the source code for the game on GitHub. They have the permission of the family of this developer to do so, and they'll be able to people will be able to see what they did, which is interesting. And the reason why this news is interesting beyond just this Days of Thunder game, which I'm sure is probably not even that good, to be quite frank, is that publishers have a new way possibly that they could bring forward games from the past, like being able to follow these examples. Because the whole point of putting the source code is that people can, duplicate what you did, reverse engineer it, that kind of stuff. So that this might work with other games in the future.
Yeah. I think the Video Game History Foundation, I follow some of their work. They do some really, really good, really interesting work in terms of preserving games, and just like making sure that this old code is still available to access or to play, all these decades later. Also worth noting in this story is you have a handful of retro game enthusiasts who are not affiliated with the History Foundation. They're on their own. They are publishing a small print run of Days of Thunder on a playable NES cartridge, with proceeds from the sale of those to go to the developer's wife, because the developer, he died fairly young. He died in 2012. And his wife is still working full-time in a hospital, no less, at 65 years old. So they are hoping to make her life a little easier with the sale of these Days of Thunder cartridges, which I think is a cool thing to do.
You ever been to King's Dominion?
Wait,
It's been
I've been to
many
King's
years,
Dominion,
but yes.
It's not King's Dominion anymore, Micah. I regret.
Is it not?
Oh no.
Oh, is it not?
Oh no.
That's how long it's been for me.
It's now who the hell bought it? So it's not King's Dominion anymore. It was bought.
That's a lie. It still says it's King's Dominion.
Well, but it's not King's Dominion. Like it was bought out by the same folks that own like Cedar Point in Ohio. So the Hanna-Barbera and Paramount parts of it are.
It's owned by Cedar Fair.
There you go. And replaced with like Snoopy and other things like that. I went after it happened, and it was not the same. It was not the same.
Well,
I haven't been there since I was a wee lass.
Back in my day, when it was called King's Dominion, there was the thing that they had called Action Theater, and you went in, and it was the Days of Thunder ride, and you would get in, and they would have this like little mini like Days of Thunder scene, and then you would just be in these chairs that like were automated, right? And it just like the things would give you whiplash, man. Like as soon as you sat in and then they hit the gas, you was just like YouTube, some of the commercials for it, you'll see these people fucking flopping around and shit. It's actually really fun, man. And I can't imagine that I will get the same sensation of speed from this NES.
That was my second favorite ride at Old King's Dominion. The first, of course, being the Outer Limits Flight of Fear.
Flight of Fear is a good coaster. Yeah.
Oof, very good coaster.
Yeah.
My chicken shit ass did not get on a roller coaster until how old are you, Carrie?
I'm 30.
You're 30. I didn't get on a roller coaster until I was in my late 20s. Because when I was pretty much. And then it was like the Rebel Yell, but it was like the forward version of the Rebel Yell.
Look, here's the thing, man. Like I can't do backwards facing coasters. That gives me motion sickness very quickly. But no, King's Dominion, easy. My favorite ride in that park. Fucking Volcano.
Volcano's pretty good.
Yeah.
Volcano's pretty good.
Yeah.
Especially as far as like suspended coasters go.
Oh, Volcano. They got rid of Volcano.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Like everything, it sucks now. It's awful.
What is this bullshit? They got rid of Volcano.
Paramount got out of the game. They're just like, we're not in the amusement park industry anymore.
This is some remarkable bullshit.
It said Hershey Park's the way to go now.
I haven't been to Hershey since my senior year of high school either.
Well, for me too.
I haven't been since I accidentally burned my sister with a seatbelt because the seatbelt was sitting in the sun and the sun hit the thing and the metal had touched her skin. Yep. And she was a baby. So that was like 30 years.
So,
So,
lastly,
yeah.
in the news, a couple high-profile postponements, given current events as they are right now. EA has postponed the Madden 21 reveal following the protests this weekend, and more notably, PlayStation has postponed the PS5 reveal that was scheduled for Thursday of this week. The quote from PlayStation is, "We have decided to postpone the PlayStation event scheduled for June 4th. While we understand gamers worldwide are excited to see PS5 games, we do not feel that right now is a time for celebration. And for now, we want to stand back and allow more important voices to be heard." A lot of people lost their shit over this, which is just calm down. I
I'm
get
not
being,
surprised.
I know,
I'm not
I
surprised.
get being disappointed, and even like my knee jerk reaction too was, that stinks, and it might have been a welcome respite for just for even a little bit of time, to get to experience that. But they're also not wrong, and it's good to see. I understand a lot of folks out there are really cynical about the bevy of corporations that are being much more woke this time around than you know
Being
5 years
woke and not
ago.
saying nothing. Like
Yeah,
talking loud and saying nothing, man. Like I just all right. All right.
it's better.
Whatever.
It's better than what we had before. Put it that
I
way.
guess.
That and they're hiring much more snarky social media folks that don't mind clapping back at people in the comment section.
Yeah, because what you gonna do? What are you gonna do? You're gonna tune in to whenever they decide to air this. Is what you're gonna do.
Right.
Like so, I want companies to. That'll prove to me that you're
to
more
call
than
out the
just.
bullshit.
Yeah, man.
And then
Like you
someone's
see
like, "Oh,
those.
well, I'm gonna buy an Xbox now." All right, fuck you.
Right. Fuck you then, bitch. See you when we drop The Last of Us 3 or whatever. Like you'll
Right.
be back. I ain't worried about your punk ass. So yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, it's good, uh, relatively speaking. But yeah, I don't know. I can't fucking think. Go to densepixels.com/Amazon. When you go to www.densepixels.com/Amazon, you not for all of your Amazon purchases, you will not only be helping yourself and the massive corporation that is Amazon, that I don't think blacked out their Facebook profile picture today. But you will be helping us out by giving us a little bit of a finder's fee at no extra cost to you. I don't really have anything to look at on Amazon
Okay.
for the ad read. So
I
yeah,
just ordered this new mic stand from Amazon, so
yeah.
I
And she
actually have
used
like the same kind of nice floating mic situation that you guys have had for so long. I finally finally set that up instead of having like a fucking tripod on my keyboard.
I still got a tripod here if in case my wife ever wants to.
The tripod only worked
on.
at the TNP action desk. Everything else, you got to have the boom arm.
Yeah.
Our only big story this week. This is an interesting one to me. Apparently, like the top players in Fortnite and Apex Legends are colluding with one another to keep themselves at the top.
Yo, what?
Yes. So basically, what's going on is obviously like games like this use skill-based matchmaking. Like the higher ranked you are when you're playing in ranked matches, you're going to be paired with people that are on your skill level. And so what these guys are doing is, because they all fucking know each other, because that's kind of how the top tier of communities like this are.
I mean, competitive gaming in all respects they're all pretty tight knit communities of people.
Right.
No.
but essentially what they're doing is they're making sure that they're taking out all the rabble down below them first until they get to like, you know, the end stages of the match when they can then face off against one another.
So they're like the 4 Street Fighter bosses, where everyone is just like, okay, I'm dictator and you're Sagat and you're Claw and you're Boxer and that's it. And
Micah, do you know what they are? They are the tag team that gets like the broken apart tag team that get reunited during the Royal Rumble match, who attempt to work together to get rid of everybody else until they're the last two standing, and then they will fight each other.
that's the perfect analogy.
That's essentially what's going on. Is instead of fighting a team like an Apex, for example, instead of fighting against other independent teams of 3, you're essentially fighting against a 6-man team that just happens to be comprised of like the best players in the world, essentially. And that's what they do. It's happening in Fortnite as well. We've seen similar things in FIFA. A big controversy that was reported last year in FIFA, where people were, you know, ducking losses against each other to ensure they remained high in like the weekly football league standings, which is the big FIFA competition that happens every single week. And the reason why is because these games like this use a system that have a fixed number of positions in the top tier. So like in Apex, for example, there's only 500 people that can at any given time have the top ranking. So instead of playing the game as it's intended to be played, they instead are kind of instituting, and here we go again with this. We saw it with Fallout, and we see it now here, a essentially class system where they're ensuring that they remain in the upper crust of the Fortnite echelon and are ensuring that the people that are below them have a very difficult time pulling themselves up by their bootstraps, let's say, and rising up to the top tiers of Fortnite gaming. They're basically Apex Legend Republicans, guys. That's essentially.
I mean, it's not wrong.
Yo, that's so funny. Like,
I mean, but you know what they're doing? They're fixing the system. They're fixing the system in their favor so that they can keep their spots. And you know, presumably continue to get, you know, various sponsorship deals and whatnot.
Again,
while they're in those positions.
like this is how I know nothing is going to change. Something that literally means nothing.
Right.
And human nature is to do whatever you got to do to keep your spot up there and fuck real competition. Like you gotta collude and do all this fucking bullshit. Like that's why shit ain't gonna change, because it's human nature.
It's becoming a weekly theme, but while you may want to ignore podcasts or politics in your video games,
No, you can't.
There's no such thing.
Not ignore
you cannot do it.
God damn.
So yeah, so like I said, if you are a kind of like near the top player in these games, your hill to climb to get to that last mountain is much more difficult.
God,
than it should be in theory.
What a fucking metaphor for life, man.
It's
God
you know
damn.
And these are the same and it's silly. And again, like you said, Mike, it doesn't mean anything. I mean, it does. There's a lot of money that these games hand out and tournaments and prizes and stuff like that. But
wow, yo.
Very.
I don't have the energy, man. Maybe I don't. Maybe that's my problem. Maybe that's my problem. Maybe that's why I'm sitting here with fucking toys in the background and shit, because I don't have that kind of fucking drive to want to stomp on people. I only have that when I'm playing an RPG. Like I want to get so, and even then I got to earn it. And
right.
We're not saying that they didn't earn it, but I don't have to cheat to stay at the top. You know what I mean?
Right.
God damn.
So we move to the post office. We'll start with Ramarius, who asks, what are some of your favorite arcade games? One of his is Time Crisis 2.
Yeah, I like Time Crisis. Who doesn't like fucking Time Crisis?
Yeah, I like games where you shoot people.
I mean, put a couple beers in you, and work with one of your pals, and you just stomp on that pedal, and that's a good time. I've always been partial to the X-Men beat 'em up arcade game, the 6-person X-Men game. That's good.
I
Obviously.
used to play the Simpsons version.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
That's very
I
good.
enjoyed the Simpsons version also.
That's very good. I fucking love Crazy Taxi. I fucking love Crazy Taxi, man. That's one of my favorites. And super recently, I guess Groove Coaster, is that what it's called? I like rhythm games. Groove Coaster's pretty fun. So
I like arcade games that have like a bunch of nonsense attached to them, like motorcycle games and racing games and shooting games where you have to physically pick up a light gun and shoot people. The schlock that you see at like Dave and Buster's, you know what I mean?
yeah.
Because now like the fighting games and stuff, like you can get that stuff at home, right? But those things
arguably better.
yeah,
Yeah.
but right, exactly. But those things you have to be there to. It's a very unique experience.
You get like the big stupid plastic gun, like
Right.
yeah, absolutely. Right. Or you sit in the big oversized stupid vehicle.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
The more, I guess, immersive experience of a dumb arcade game. It's fun. Arcades are fun.
Yeah.
NBA Jam is my all-timer.
That's fair.
Even though I had an SNES, the arcade version is vastly superior. And they're coming out with that 1-up arcade cabinet for NBA Jam, and I'm
oh shit, are they really
considering buying it?
Ooh.
And that is
I was thinking I might get the Turtles one, but if they're coming out with an NBA Jam, I got space in my basement.
Got the first 3 versions. It's got TE, it's got the OG, and it's got a Hang Time on there. Arguably the best version that people stopped caring about because it wasn't called NBA Jam. That to me is the all-timer. I also enjoy the Konami beat 'em ups, the TMNT games. Simpsons. I like Simpsons a lot as a kid. I played it as an adult. It doesn't hold up nearly as well. It's got really poor hit detection, and it's weird because it came out like right at the end of season 1. So there's a lot of weird shit in the Simpsons arcade game that's not in the Simpsons at all. And Smithers is black, which is weird because that's what he was in the first season, or at least he was. His character was brown skinned.
Yeah, they Baxter Stockman his ass.
Yeah. Very strange. But yeah, those are my top picks for sure. Let's see. Malcolm asks, what are your favorite video game songs in your playlist? He says Lavender Town still slaps.
I frequently listen to the Street Fighter 3 soundtracks, all of them. With Third Strike being the best and Second Impact a close second. No pun intended with all of those, but I will just rock that shit in my car, right? I was recently listening. I had to go to my job, and I was outside walking because part of my job is design, but I have to go out and physically be out there to see what's out there, so that I'm not just designing willy-nilly, right? And I was listening to Jet Set Radio Future.
That's a good one.
Which is very, very good. So those are in heavy rotation, with a few of the new Streets of Rage tracks in starting to creep up. A few of them, like Terrence was right. Like that music, I've listened to the old music also, and it's really good. Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, a lot of beat 'em ups have historically had really good soundtracks. I as I've mentioned on the show, I do play in a video game orchestra, so I spend a lot of time listening to video game music and playing video game music. So it's hard for me to be like, oh, these are my favorites, because like everything is good. All video game music is good. Except one Winged Angel, which I'm kind of sick of at this point.
It's good. It's just, again,
it's good. I'm just
It's the Final Fantasy VII
overdone.
Final Fantasy songs.
right.
Yes. So the other thing I've been doing recently, especially since I got a new job and I can afford to buy all this dumb shit now, I've been buying a lot of video game soundtracks on vinyl. And I have a lot of interesting soundtracks on vinyl. I have the Pokemon Snap soundtrack on vinyl. I got Sonic CD, which is great. I got Sonic 3, which is super good. The art for that release is spectacular because they made it look like the cover of Michael Jackson's Thriller. Except it's Sonic. Yeah, God, that's been one I've been listening to quite a bit. I've got the Katamari soundtrack, Stardew Valley. I have a fucking 4 LP set of that. Yeah, there's a lot of good video game soundtracks on vinyl. Look, obviously, fucking Golden Sun I listen to quite a bit. There have been some folks out there who have done tributes to the Golden Sun soundtrack with like new arrangements of those songs, which is very, very cool. If you're interested in that, I would recommend looking up Golden Sun Legends. You can find that on YouTube. I like that a lot. As far as a reorchestration, Motoi Sakuraba's music is incredible. He does so much stuff in RPGs that it's very heavily like prog rock influenced, with these like wailing guitar solos in like weird time signatures, and I'm super about that because it's dumb and unnecessary, but it sounds really cool. But then like he also did like the Souls games, so he's got just an incredible talent as far as composing for games is concerned. And fucking the Persona soundtrack. All of the Persona games have great soundtracks.
Oh yeah, the
like
Persona 5.
The Persona 5 soundtrack is incredible. The new tracks that they did for Persona 5 Royal, I love the new battle theme, Takeover. That's really fun. The new end boss theme, like the final boss theme, is really good. But there's one new track in there called I Believe, and it's played in the run up to the final boss. Like you don't even. It's got vocals. It's almost a sequel to the song Life Will Change. It's so good. I've been listening to like that track specifically a lot. But like the other Persona soundtracks are great too. I like the Persona 3 soundtrack is some of my favorite tunes in the franchise. So that was a lot for me on video game music. Sorry. I deal with this stuff a lot.
So for me, the classic stuff is typically the best. I definitely love listening to the various Mega Man soundtracks. They're very good. Castlevania's always had stupidly good music. Almost anything that Uematsu's done is right up there. The best RPG soundtrack of all time, and at least from what I've listened to, is Chrono Trigger. That's one you can definitely fuck with, and if you can get special remixes of those songs, they're pretty fucking good. Just saying, you should probably check that shit out. And as far as more contemporary stuff, a lot more of like the sci-fi futuristic games have really excellent scores if you're into that style of music. So I'm talking about Mass Effect. I'm talking about Deus Ex.
Halo has an incredible soundtrack.
Halo does. I've never played the Halo games, but I've always heard the score is very good. But it's much more like epic battle.
It's sort of grandiose for what you would otherwise expect from a first-person shooter, but
right, rather than like in the Deus Ex and Mass Effect games have a lot of like synths and stuff like that. So if you're into that sort of stuff, then
Halo theme does have melody though. Like not a lot of things have melody anymore. You know what I mean? Like,
at least not in first-person shooters. No, they tend not to lean into that direction. The Witcher 3 has an incredible soundtrack. I could have like a whole hour and a half podcast just talking about video game music, so we should probably
maybe a future premium episode one day.
Hell yeah. I can talk about the difficulties in arranging a song that was written for the fucking Sega Genesis that had like maybe a 16 track sound card or something like that, and trying to arrange that for a 50-piece orchestra.
Anthony says, I listen to Dense Pixels regularly for years without actually playing many games, which I hope rings complimentary to the host. It does. Thank you. I can pick up by context a lot of the gaming jargon you guys use, but I have no idea what a bullet hell game actually is. I could look it up, but I'll never play a type of game just based on how you guys have talked about it before.
Yeah.
It's not really my jam. Are there other terms that use beyond first-person shooter, or I guess that kind of encompasses like entry-level jargon, I guess you can say, that can need explanation or that you've had to explain during your GameStop days to parents?
Fighting games, if you don't like follow fighting games, it's like another language.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like some things you can get, like super armor, right? Like that's kind of self-explanatory, but you don't know what people don't know what 50-50 is. People don't know what happy birthday is. People don't like canceling
poking and
right
footsies and things of that nature are
right. Like it's a whole language that, like, I'm looking up a bunch of terms. They have a Wikipedia of just a ton of terms.
Well, and that's
just for fighting games.
That's not even exclusive to fighting games. Like there's any game that you waltz into an established community. I remember when I first started playing Call of Duty online, there was a lot of terms being thrown out and a lot of jargon being thrown out that I felt too. I didn't want to look like an idiot, so I didn't ask what that stuff meant. But you pick it up through context clues. Destiny is very much the same way. Like if you play a lot of Destiny online, there's just a lot of terms that Destiny players use, and it's hard to even think about because like once you learn the lexicon, you just kind of do it without even like consciously thinking about it, right?
Yeah.
Like it's one of those things. So it's tough to identify like broader terms cause outside of like genres and stuff like that. Like there's certainly some subgenres that probably have,
Yeah, I mean, I would, I've had to explain all sorts of stuff to GameStop parents. What is a sandbox game? What does open world mean? Like, what does MMO mean? Like all of these sort of, casual jargon that, like, if you play games at all, like, yeah, you know what MMORPG stands for, without really having to think about it. I think the stuff that I've had to like explain to parents the most were just like the ESRB ratings and like why they are what they
does
are.
Mature mean?
Yeah. What does teen mean?
I will tell you. So one thing that, especially parents at GameStop, not to get off on too far on the tangent, the emergence of like shared world games was kind of a tough hurdle for them to overcome, and especially when you are playing stuff like Minecraft and things of that nature that their kids actually get into, kind of having to explain what that means, and here's stuff that you're paying for, and kind of the introduction of DLC to the
the whole sort of like free to start sort of deal.
Or free to play. Like what does free to play mean? Like do I have to pay for it? Like what does this mean? But yeah, if you ever do get into a game on a not even a high level but just a enthusiast level, it's interesting when you first walk into like I said, an established community that people are just slinging terms around that you just you're just kind of along for the ride, and you're like, all right. Like I'll never forget like the first time playing Destiny in a strike, and I was playing with randos online, and one of my teammates is like, oh, I need a res. I'm like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? Like I had no idea what he was saying or what he was trying to do, and res in Destiny means I need someone to revive me or resurrect me, because they're down. And it's stuff you pick up as you just kind of get immersed in it. So if you ever hear us using jargon that you understand, let us know. And a bullet hell game, to answer your question, is a genre of game that's kind of like a modern take up of like the side and vertical scrolling shoot 'em ups from back then, where you have just shit flying at you from all sides and very fast, and you have to avoid and fire back and things like that. It's kind of an evolutionary version of games like Gradius and R-Type and things of that nature. Or at least that's how I look at them.
Yeah, like fucking Ikaruga and shit like that, where it's just a bunch of particles on the screen, and if you touch one, you're dead. Like stuff like that. Like, yeah, those are Terrence games.
Tell you what, if you want an introduction to bullet hell games that's not at all like nervy and nerve wracking, go play Undertale, because there's
that's fair. It's the sort of bullet hell inspired battle system. I would not say Undertale is anywhere close to
no
bullet hell experience, but it's definitely like baby's first bullet hell. I used to play the Toho games pretty seriously, and those are bullet hell shooters. And I mean, look, speaking of good music, Toho has incredible music. So if you want to get a good video game music experience and also experience what true bullet hell looks like, just look up Toho gameplay, because that shit is wild. So
Gustavo's always wanting to know who's gonna win fights.
And it's always Terrence. It's never going to not be Terrence. Sorry, Micah. Anthony's explanation, I think, really hits the nail on the head.
Before January 3rd, 2019, I would say it was Terrence. Afterwards, nah. I'll fucking kill you. All I have to do is imagine, like he was talking about Michael Jordan, and all Michael Jordan had to do was just imagine, like, this guy wished me a good game. Well, fuck him. I'm gonna score double, triple on him in the first half, right? That's all I need to do. I need to just imagine that you are gonna harm my son, and then I'm gonna fucking kill you. I mean, and it's not gonna be like some bitch ass, like, I'm gonna shoot you from a gun from all the way over there. Nope. I'm gonna wrap my hands around your throat, and I'm just gonna squeeze. It'll be the most intimate kill that you will ever experience, and that will be it.
We'll end it with John, and this, I guess, as good a way as we can end, because we're going to take a silly question and spin it off into a more serious area. He says, in the Revolution, amongst others, one side has Chris Jericho, The Undertaker, and Jackson Riker. I have no idea who Jackson Riker is, but Jesus. He's a shitty wrestler. And the other side is Kevin Nash, Mustafa Ali, and Randy Orton. And
I know.
And here's why. So here's why that we're ending with this, and why this is important. A couple of years ago, when Randy Orton is a native of St. Louis, Missouri, and a couple of years ago, when the Ferguson protests were happening, Randy Orton was very much your generic shitty white all lives matter dude. Like that's who he fucking was. He yelled at people on Twitter about this shit. And people expected it from Randy Orton, because that's kind of Randy Orton, especially in the past, used to be kind of a douchebag. Well, I guess family life, I guess having kids has mellowed out Randy Orton a little bit, and also time and space. And it seems as if Randy Orton has taken the time to actually listen to the black voices around him in the WWE, because now Randy Orton is a Black Lives Matter believer. And when he tweeted out Black Lives Matter, some random fan told him to stop spreading hate and segregation. And Randy Orton said this, and a lot of people have been retweeting it, and it's a pretty concise way to do it. All lives do matter, but the point I was trying to make is that I finally realized that until Black Lives Matters, they can't. And
that is
it's fucking simple.
That's literally the. Okay, even Randy Orton, guys. Mm-hmm. Randy Orton gets it. Like fucking woke KO out of nowhere. Like Randy fucking Orton gets it, dude. Like, and that is the definition, and that's all we're saying. That's all we're saying. That's it. That's it. Use common sense. People don't know why they say all lives matter. They don't know why they say it. They say it it's Pavlovian because they know that people who say Black Lives Matter don't want to hear that shit. If people that say Black Lives Matter didn't want to hear Gribble Fritz, you would see hashtag Gribble Fritz because that's all these people know what to do. Like the fucking MAGA Hawkeye was shouting "All Lives Matter" as he was drawing a bow and arrow to shoot a person. What happened to All Lives Matter?
Right, all lives matter
kill
except for
somebody,
people that I'm about to try to fucking draw a hunting bow down on.
Yo, you're so fucking dumb, dude. Like it really, like I'm just fucking too through with this shit. I really am, man. It's so fucking annoying. And yo, it's incredibly frustrating. And people just want to be heard, man. And look, I have lived a very blessed, dare I say, privileged life. I have nothing outside of a couple speeding tickets. I don't have bad altercations with police. But that doesn't mean that just because I haven't had what Terrence has experienced, that doesn't mean that I don't believe the shit fucking happens. It does.
It also doesn't make you believe that it still couldn't happen to you the next time.
Right. Like, what the fuck? Like, and for people to, and I've tried, man. I've really tried to be like, oh, Terrence, you shouldn't say that you hate white people, man. And well,
Dude, I hate white people, and I am a white people.
I've said not all. I've said that, I've rationalized it to myself, right? Well, not all cops are bad, right? You can't paint with a broad brush because that's what racists do. They paint with broad brushes and shit. But like this week, like seeing all this shit on TV, like just seeing all these fucking GED graduates in cop uniforms, because that's all it takes to be a cop. Like you don't have to be a Mensa student. You don't have to be any kind of bright. You can have a low 2-digit IQ and be a fucking cop. Like seeing this shit, it just pisses me off. And now I gotta, I can't, man. I can't. And for grown ass men and grown ass women to feign ignorance like this, to pretend to not know, to play this bullshit semantics game, like, how dare you? Like, get the fuck out of here, man. This shit is just fucking, it gets on my goddamn nerves. And I'm really fucking sick of it. And I really didn't I didn't want to have to fucking do this shit today, but it's been sitting here. It's been sitting here, and everything that's happening at the same goddamn time, and it's triggering me. It is, and I used to make fun of people who would be like, well, what you mean you got to take a mental health day? Suck it up and go to work. I get it. I fucking get it. And it just, I don't know, man. I don't know. That's Dense Pixels, everybody. There's a video game podcast.
Yeah, I mean, look.
No, look, it is exhausting. Like I as a white person, I don't know, and I will never know what it is like to face certain types of violence, or much less racism, in this world. All I know is, fuck cops, man. Like I've been done with cops for a few years now, because it's and I was tweeting about this earlier today. Friend of mine, my buddy Chris Clapp, who I played in Towson University's marching band with and pep band, absolute joy to be around. Nicest fucking dude you would ever meet. He was over on election day in 2016. And I remember him like kind of having like a panic attack when the news came in that Trump had been elected, because he was a large gay black man. And he said, this is like, what is going to happen to me? And I remember like trying to console him. And 10 months later, he was killed by a cop for
Jesus fucking Christ, man.
For the alleged crime of shoplifting like a $3 fucking bottle of laundry detergent.
Yo, what the fuck?
And and it was pretty quickly swept aside. His family from down south, not a particularly well-to-do family that could have possibly hired anyone to try and fight it. They basically just ruled that it had been justified because he tried to drive away or whatever, and that was that. So all cops are bastards, and I am sick of seeing my Black friends be harassed and be fucking killed by the police in this country. Sick of it. I've been sick of it.
Well, and to kind of put a bow on it, to all of, so I mean, look, here's the thing: the last 4 years, for me personally, been fine. I'm my socioeconomic class and the color of my skin and my gender and my sexual orientation have made it guaranteed that, like I said, I'm not immune from pitfalls, but society is not going to put them in my way. And there's possibly a lot of you listening out there that are in the same boat, that no matter who wins this year in the upcoming election, no matter what changes or doesn't change, your life, your day-to-day life is probably not going to be affected dramatically one way or the other. But you probably have friends and you probably have other family members possibly who will be. And you owe it to them to fight for them. And it's not enough just to, I've heard people say it's not just enough to, not be racist. You have to be anti-racist. You have to
be actively against it. You cannot be quietly on the sidelines anymore, because every moment that you are staying silent means that is another moment that someone has faced race-related violence that you could have potentially done something about.
And these fuckers are emboldened now. They are emboldened. Like, this shit is just, they're not hiding it anymore. They're not hiding it anymore. They feel like they don't have to. You can't be that Asian officer standing next to being a guard dog for fucking racism. You can't, yo. You can't.
And again, I said the same thing on Look Forward, and I'll say it again here. If you have always hesitated to say stuff because you were worried about how people, in your family, friends that don't necessarily agree with you might perceive you or might come back at you, that time's over. You need to, people that need to hear uncomfortable truths need to hear those truths. And the people who don't have as much at stake need to take it upon themselves to fight just as hard or harder than the people that do, because those are your friends, those are your family that you owe it to do everything you can. And that's it. Subscribe, do it, all that shit. We're done. We'll see you.
Thanks.
Bye.
You're watching the Dense Pixels YouTube channel. Click the subscribe button while you're here, and make sure you check out our weekly podcast where we discuss the latest gaming news and our impressions on what games we've been playing.